Hello and welcome to the BeGlad Movement. My name's Pollyanna and I'm on a mission to bring you as many stories as possible of good coming out of bad and reasons to be glad. And today I am joined by David. Say hello, David.
Good afternoon.
David has just finished doing a talk on gratitude and journaling to wounded veterans, and he's got a very interesting story of his own to tell, haven't you?
Well, it's not boring, that's for sure.
So take us back to, I know you've had a massive accident and injury. Tell me about your life before that happened. What were you up to?
So in 2008, I joined the armed forces and began serving in the Household Cavalry. And in 2011, the 7th of October 2011 to be exact, after leaving the Royal Albert Hall with some colleagues, I was struck by a vehicle while crossing the road, which caused catastrophic brain injury. I believe that the statistics are that 90% of people with my brain injury will never recover. So I had been sucked under the vehicle, and it was evident to the people who had given first aid immediately that the brain injury was bad. I very thankfully had attended a military event at the time, so there were high-ranking military officers present, and walking past the event to get to the train station that of course was going to get them home. They of course didn't expect to stumble across the accident that they had, but luckily for me, many of them were doctors who began firstly pulling me from underneath the taxi and began treating me. Now, by the time the ambulance had got to me, I'd stopped breathing twice. And because of the brain injury, it was evident that it wasn't likely I'd survive. Now, thankfully, a military doctor had decided that he would induce a coma at the scene of the accident. And I was whisked off to hospital, where I lay in a coma for just short of 4 weeks, I believe. Now, halfway through the coma, the bleeding on my brain was so severe that doctors had to remove the right hand side of my skull to allow the swelling of the brain and the pressure to release. Doctors had completely written me off. They told my family that it was unexpected that I would live. Thankfully, after the operation, they had managed to stabilise me, and they said, okay, we're going to attempt to bring him out of the coma, but we expect him to be in a vegetative state, and asked my family to prepare themselves. I very thankfully woke from that coma kicking and screaming, in complete denial that anything was different. And I began my fight back from there.
Wow. That's quite something. So you began your fight back. I know that you were determined that you were just going to be as normal, and you went back to work for a little while, didn't you?
Yes, so I was released from rehabilitation December 23rd, 2011, and sent home on sick leave. Now, when they took the right side of my skull away, they weren't going to replace the skull for 10 months. So of course the army had said, you go home and you stay there for 10 months. There wasn't anything to protect the right hand side of my brain.
Literally your skull was missing.
Literally the skull was missing, and the only thing protecting my brain was the skin and the hair.
Crikey.
It was over it. After a week at home, I quickly realised that this wasn't going to work, and I moved back into the barracks and started pestering the army to let me come back to work. They, of course, because of health and safety, didn't want anything to do with me.
Right.
But I managed, through Headley Court and the military, to embark on a GROW program, which would see me return to work gradually. And I think I started with 4 hours, 1 day a week, working in a storeroom where nothing was above head height,
Right.
shoulder height,
Okay.
and eventually got up to 4 working days a week. Now I carried on working, and as a result of my review I was given, I was selected to march the Great Britain flag out at the opening ceremony of the Paralympics in London.
Fantastic.
What's funny about that is the week before the opening ceremony, I took a call from my surgeon who said, "David, we've had a metal plate sent over from Switzerland. You're ready to come in for your operation." Now I knew that having brain surgery so close to such a big event was going to mean that there was no way the military were going to let me do it. So I figured, not wanting to miss out on an opportunity to represent my country in such a way, that I would lie. So I told military doctors that I was going up north to have a checkup with a surgeon, and that I'd be back down for the opening ceremony. And I think 48 hours after being released from hospital, I went to the Olympic Park and marched the Great Britain flag out.
Incredible. So you nipped up north, just had your brain protected by a new metal plate, and then nipped back down to open the Olympics. That is awesome. And I spotted your tattoo. Show it off. Show it off.
Yes, so I had the Olympic rings in London 2012 to mark that achievement. And
Fantastic. And now you're involved in motivational speaking and running workshops on gratitude journaling.
Yes.
And that's why we're here today in Highworth at the Rag Barn Golf Club, which is absolutely beautiful. It's a glorious day. And you've just delivered a gratitude journaling workshop to some wounded veterans. Tell us a little bit about that and what you do.
so when I left the army and that support rug was whipped from underneath me, my injury was evident, and there was no running from that. I'd been told that I now had a disability and wasn't going to be capable of much and to settle for less, and that really rang true once I left the military, because I was on my own and had to fend for myself.
Right.
And I went through a period of a pretty dark period of depression, anxiety and suicidal thoughts. And I was introduced at this point to a psychologist because I thought envisaging myself hanging from my wardrobe wasn't right. And I needed to do something to remedy this problem before I physically started trying to take my own life. And I was introduced to a psychologist who'd said to me about journaling and developing gratitude of myself. And at the time I was completely skeptical and said, how on earth is keeping a diary gonna change the fact that I'm close to suicide?
Sure.
And he'd said to me, look, get to 30 days consecutive journaling and then you'll see the benefit of it. Now, it took me a long while to get to 30 days unbroken. But when I got there and we then had a conversation about the benefits of it, and he asked me, so what's different? And I'd said, people are looking at me funny, as if I'm weird. And he said, explain more. And what was happening is when I was going to work and I was on the train, people weren't looking at me in a bad way. People were opening up to me, and things started to happen, and opportunities started to open in my life that I thought made no sense to me. And effectively what he'd said was that through using the journal to reflect on my day, and through using gratitude to develop better self-esteem and better confidence in myself, I as a person was changing and becoming a positive energy in life, and people were picking up on that. And although I'm still skeptical, it's completely right. I mean, my life has become a dream since I adopted gratitude and journaling. I got involved with a number of military charities. The charity that we're here with today, I'm now an ambassador for, and through their support, I've been lucky enough to gain support from an investment company who have been mentoring me in it and have helped me take my experiences and transform them into a product that can help other people. So I've been asked to come back today to deliver the gratitude and journaling element of my wellbeing package, and it's already having a great effect and impact on people, which is fantastic.
It's awesome. So that by teaching people how to gratitude journal, it's helping them come to terms with their own injuries and look for positives in their lives.
Yes, I mean, I explain it to them as it's very difficult to believe in something that you know nothing about, but this doesn't cost anything.
Right.
And if they didn't believe me, then I had a recorded video message from another veteran who, like me, after hearing me talk about it, had taken it on. And he himself has said that it's completely changed his life. So the hope is that other people here today are able to adopt these tools, allowing them to become the best versions of themselves and impact on their lives in the same way that others have been able to impact on theirs.
Yeah, it's incredible. I know that you're really enjoying what you're doing, and you're underplaying yourself a little bit here. But if you cast your mind back to when you did walk out, was it the Albert Hall? Did you say before you had your accident? If that accident hadn't happened, how different your life would be right now?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like an easy thing to say, but there's no possible way I'd be where I am now had I not been through what I've been through. And if I could change anything, it would be the impact that it had on my family.
Right. Yeah.
And of course, the gentleman who unfortunately run me over.
Right.
I think other than that, I wouldn't change a single thing.
Right.
Even if I had the chance.
So it all feels like it happened for a reason now.
Very much so. I think that I feel like I have a purpose in life. I'm passionate about trying to equip people with the same tools that I've very gratefully been given to manage the ups and downs in my own life and my disability, in the hope that they too can find the same solace.
I know you went through a very dark period directly after having had the accident. What would your message be to anybody that's currently in that place now? They're suffering, and what would you say to them?
So I think firstly it's important to understand that depression, anxiety and poor mental health is a byproduct of us living in a way that our brains aren't able to handle. So if you imagine, you picture the brain as a car. If you run a car for 24 hours a day, yes, for a period of time, if it's a new car, it's going to run without problems. And to begin with, you're going to have to change the tyres and you're going to have to change your brakes. But then over time, the tyres and the brakes are going to turn into gearboxes, engine issues. Before long, the vehicle's going to be no good to anyone. Our brains are very much the same. If we push our brains and ourselves too far in a direction that we shouldn't be going, eventually you're going to start having headaches or sleepless nights. That's then going to become depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, and then if you carry on, eventually, unfortunately, you're only going to look for ways out. And for some people, suicide is that way out. For others, it's alcohol or drugs. So I think it's important, firstly, to understand that mental health isn't a weakness. It's merely a byproduct of living your life in a way that isn't productive for yourself or your brain.
Sure, sure. Valuable thoughts and lessons there. I'm going to share all the links to your pages at the end of the video, but a massive thank you for letting me come and interview you today. I really appreciate it. Yeah, so I will share the links so that you can get in touch with David if you'd like to either book him for a motivational speech or a workshop. But thank you for watching, and if you like this video, please do subscribe by clicking the bell in the corner, and then you'll get notifications when new videos are posted. Also, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. If you search at BeGlad Movement, you should be able to find us. And thank you for joining us, and I hope you are all having lovely days somewhere in the sunshine, and we will catch up with you soon. Many thanks.